Okay, hello guys. Today the topic is about the coordinate geometry. Okay, so let's move into the first part about calculating the gradient. Okay, so here, what is a gradient? Okay, so you can just rethinking like you're just climbing a mountain. Okay, so maybe like here we have the two slope of the mountain. Okay, you can find maybe here is a mountain A, here's a mountain B. Okay, and maybe if you want to compare whether like which is more tired when you're climbing it, you can say, oh, maybe B is maybe you're more tired when you climb it, right? Okay, so why is that? You can find the slope B as more step than the slope A, right? Okay, so how to measure or how to assume whether it is step or not? Okay, so you can find here if you're just choosing the same like horizontal x displacement, or like here is just a very small distance, also the same distance to compare with mountain B. You can find the height is different, right? Okay, maybe here the height of the mountain B is bigger than the height of the mountain A. Okay, so we can write them down as height B bigger than height A. Okay, in the same x. Okay, so now we can just trying to assume the gradient is equals to the rise over the run. Okay, or you can also consider as changing y over changing x. If changing y over changing x is bigger, that means the gradient of the slope or gradient of the mountain is bigger. Okay, so most of the time we're using the letter m to represent for its gradient. Okay, that is for gradient. It means that whether the mountain is steep or not. Okay, so maybe the same distance we have a higher altitude. Okay, so here we have maybe three kinds of the gradient. First is positive gradient, okay? That means m bigger than zero, okay? The gradient is bigger than zero. And second one is for negative gradient. The gradient now is smaller than zero. And the last is zero gradient, okay? So if you just consider here is a mountain and you're climbing the mountain, and you can find when you climb it, you can find it becomes stepper and stepper, right? Okay, so you can find you're just climbing up, so the gradient is bigger than zero, okay? And another is called negative gradient. That means you're just moving from the top of the mountain just to moving downward. Okay. So here we can say the gradient is negative. So m is smaller than zero. Okay. And the third one is called zero gradient. Okay. That means the gradient is zero. Okay. It's just like a very flat gradient, like here. That is a flat mountain. Like here, this is a human, and he is just moving horizontal direction. Okay, there's no barrier for the human to across the mountain. Okay, so last is called undefined gradient. Okay, that means a just vertical line right here. Okay, a vertical lines right here. Okay, so we can say that is undefined gradient. Okay, this is very important because you cannot measure what is a gradient, what is a changing y or changing x, right? There's no changing x, right? There's zero. So you can just consider there's changing y over zero. So you can find the denominator cannot be zero, right? Okay. So here is the formula. Okay. If you want to calculate the gradient, we can set, maybe we can choose 2 points right here. Maybe first point is A, xy, y1. Okay. B is x2, y2. Okay. You can just connect the 2 points. Okay. Connect them together. And you can set, maybe here, the gradient now is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That is changing y over changing x. Okay. So here changing y, or here is changing x. Okay. So you can just consider like this way. This is changing y. This is changing x. Okay. That is for the gradient formula. Okay. And here is also for a working example. You can find here we have 2 points. One is P25, another is Q613. Okay. So if you want to calculate the formula, you can just based on it, okay? So gradient m equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, okay? So here we can set the gradient now is 13 minus 5 over 6 minus 2. It equals to 8 over 4 equals to 2, okay? So now gradient is 2, okay? That is the changing y over changing x, okay? It's very easy to remember it, right? Okay. So another example is here. So find the gradient between A, negative 3, 4, and B, 5, negative 2. Okay? So you can just try to use a formula like changing y over changing x, so it's negative 2 minus 4, and 5 minus negative 3. Okay, so here you can set the gradient is negative 6 over 8, that is negative 3 over 4. Okay, that is a final gradient. Okay. And here's another great practice for you. So if you just want to do it on yourself, you can just pause the video and just try it on yourself. And maybe if you want to follow with me, you can just keep on going. Okay. So maybe the first problem is to find the gradient between the 2 points, 1, 3, and 4, 12, right? So find the gradient, you can set gradient here equals to changing y is 12 minus 3 over changing x, that is 3 minus 4, sorry, 4 minus 1, right? So the formula here is 9 over 3, that is 3. Okay, this is the first gradient. And for the second gradient, you can write down as changing y is -3 minus 7, and changing x is 3 minus -2, right? So the formula here is -10 over 5. It equals to -2. And the third problem is 0, 5, and 4, 5, right? You can just using the formula like changing y over changing x, right? That is 5 minus 5 over 4 minus 0, right? The formula here is 0 over 4, it equals to 0. So we can say there's no gradient or there's no slope for the mountain. You can just consider that here is a flat slope, right? Here is a very flat slope. Okay, that is a third problem. So you can also it's a horizontal line right here. Okay. And for the fourth problem is that find the gradient between 94, 91, and 91, 10, right? Okay, you can also just calculate it as gradient equals to changing y is -10 minus -1, and changing x is -1 minus 94. Okay, so here 91, 10 plus 1 is 99, and 91 minus 94 is 3. So gradient here is 93. Okay. And the last problem is a challenging problem, okay, is that the line passing through 2k and 5, 11 has a gradient of 3 and find the value of k, right? Okay, so maybe you can just try to using the method like using 11 minus k, right? That is the changing y. 2 over 5 minus 2 is also the changing x, right? And the value here equals to 3, and you can just trying to simplify it as 11 minus k over 3 equals to 3, okay? So now you can set k equals to 2. This is our final answer, okay? Okay, so that's what is our lesson. We already learned about how to calculate the lines, how to calculate the gradient. It's very important to learn about the basics of the lines, okay? So in the next lesson, we are just learn how to calculate the equation of the lines. Gradient is the most important part, okay? So see you next time. Bye.